Hello and welcome back. Well, I wasn't going to publish this video, but a friend of mine pointed out that I started this channel to document my journey into the hobby of model making. And so I wanted to build a case for my airbrush, which I'm going to start calling it a collection because I think I have 6 airbrushes now. I have the 3 that I use most. There's a little pass-through brush. There's an Iwata single action. I have just an inexpensive one from made in Taiwan, an HD 130. I think it's made on the Masters model. There's a lid for that somewhere. And this is the newest one. It's a Masters. Came with some different needle sizes, and I've currently put the 0.2 millimeter in here in hopes of doing some fine detail work on my next model that I'm working on right now. So the case started out just as an idea that was going to just create a storage case for these things, and using just the cardboard techniques that I normally use for my organization stuff, and that I thought I would upscale it a little bit. And I lined it with some fabric, and there's some padding underneath that so that everything's nice and secure in there, and it's not going to scratch the chrome off of them, although I would think that was very unlikely. And I got through the build, and it went pretty well, right up until the point where I thought, I'm going to spray paint it green to match my my little tool chest. And the paint did weird things. It caused it to warp, and ended up breaking the lid, which, I can rebuild this thing. And I will. I'm gonna make another one. That's not spray painted with rattle can spray paint. But so I think it's a great idea. My execution was not the best, but and I will be. I don't know what in the world that is. And I will be making another one, and I've got some ideas on how to improve the design. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you what I did. So you'll see the process from start to finish. And there you go. So, cue some music, and we'll start a little time lapse. Some of the projects I've been working on are becoming a little more airbrush intensive, and to be honest, the way I'm storing my airbrushes are, well, it's downright disgraceful. I mean, look at this. This little plastic container full of airbrushes and airbrush parts. I mean, this could easily be mistaken for something that needed to go into, the trash can. So I need a serious container to hold my airbrushes. So we're going to build one today. First, we're going to ascertain, or, there's a word there, it's not coming to me. You know what I mean? We're going to figure out how big the container needs to be, what shape it's going to take, and how much room we're going to have in it for whatnot. One of my favorite materials to use is cardboard, because, it's basically free, and everybody's got cardboard, and it's a good way to reuse it and repurpose it. First, we need to figure out the layout. So we need to know how many of what we're wanting to store and segment, and then we need to figure out where the internal walls are going to go for the storage container. After a little bit of fiddling, I decided on a plan, and we're going to start to lay it out. Now, keeping in mind you're using a material that has a dimension. It's, it has a thickness to it. So when you're laying out your walls, you want to decide how you want to build this. You want the base, the bottom of it, to be on the inside or the outside of the four walls around that makes the outer box. In my case today, we're going to put the walls on the outside or on the top. They'll go around the edge, and they'll all be hot glued together. And hot glue is really the perfect glue for this type of a system. The glue bond is stronger than the paper. So if it's going to come apart, the paper's going to come apart before the glue comes off the paper. The inside's going to be 1.5 inches deep, so that'll give me plenty of room for the airbrushes and then any other bits and pieces I need to store in there with them. So after we've cut a bunch of strips of cardboard, and we cut them on the, I'm not sure what it's called, we want the corrugation to be up and down so that we've got lateral strength rather than vertical strength. Or no, reverse that. Yeah, reverse that. Once we've got those cut out, we can start assembling. We're going to lay it out so that the walls around the outside edge are positioned on top of the outside edge of the cardboard base. Here I'm using a dual temperature glue gun, or hot glue gun, with its own high temperature. That way the glue stays fluid longer and it gives you more working time. But you have to be careful because it will burn you, especially if you get a little too much in one place and you think, oh, I'm just going to smooth that out with my finger. And then, ooh, no, not good. Don't do that. Precision is also important. You want to make sure that you're cutting them exactly at the right length to match the base of the box, so that when you glue everything together, they all match and they're nice and square. If you've done that, then everything goes together smooth and you've got a really square, nice little storage box, and you can stop right here. You don't need to do anything more. You've got a perfect little container tray to put stuff in. But we're going further than that. We're going to make a lid for it, and we're going to line it with some padding and some cloth and make the whole thing look somewhat more, I hesitate to say professional, but a little bit not like a cardboard box. The little individual pieces of padding worked great as kind of a template to give you an idea of where to lay it out and how to cut it out. With the basic pattern in mind, I just took each of the pads and laid them out and cut everything out. One of the challenges I enjoy most about this type of construction is that you're problem solving kind of on the fly. So I need padding material for this. Where do I find it? Well, I went digging around and I found some packing material that came with an old, I think it was an old computer that I had. But really, if you think about it, you could use just about anything. I mean, it could have been an old washcloth or an old piece of towel, terry cloth that you could cut up, or some folded up tissue paper, or really just something to give it a little bit of a cushion underneath there. Now comes the fun part. We're going to start gluing everything together. Gluing in the first liner was a little tricky, but once I got it figured out and got everything in place, it went in quite smooth, and then the rest of them just kind of went together. We did have to do a little bit of kind of patchwork around the corners where I had cut the fabric a little too short, but everything ended up, and it looked pretty good once I got it all done and trimmed up. Again, you can stop right here. Don't need to do another thing to it. It's make an excellent little storage tray for your airbrushes. But we're not done yet. Now we're going to clean up all the edges with some with some paper strips. I found an old, you don't see these very often anymore, but I found an old paper bag from somewhere, and once it was all cut up, made a great piece of giant brown construction paper and was perfect for trimming out the rest of the case. Guess what? Those measurements and the grid marks on the cutting mat are actually useful for something. Worked great in order to cut out 1-inch strips that I'm using to cover up the edges of the cardboard. That's backwards. Let's try the other side. Tacky glue is just that, tacky. So I suggest you keep a damp cloth handy to keep the glue off your fingers. That way you're not competing with your work. You want to make sure that your stuff's sticking to the project and not to you. Once we got all the top edges of the cardboard covered up and the fabric secured underneath it, then we can go around the outside and cover up the edges of the base. Creating the lid's pretty simple. We want to make a closure, so we're cutting out a flap. We're cutting out a flap, and we're going to put a magnet in the flap, and then we're going to embed some metal washers in the face of the box. That way, when they close together, it'll just stay. It'll hold it shut. Here I'm using a couple of T-pins to just push through the top of the lid in order to hold it in alignment on the box. That way it doesn't get crooked while we're gluing on the hinge, which is just a piece of paper in the back. We're getting pretty close to finished here. We're just got to put the closure on and kind of clean up the hinges a little bit. Finish putting on the last few pieces of trim, and then kind of let the whole thing set and dry for a while. Then we're going to paint it. I sure do appreciate you getting to the end of the video with me today. If you like what you've seen, I'd appreciate it if you would hit that like button. Also, if you're interested, there's a playlist of other one-day builds on the left, and the next video will be on the right. And have a great day, and go make something.